Okay, coming close to the end of the White Sands here.
Yeah, we'll try not to.
There's only 234 square miles of New Mexico, so it's got to end sometime.
Yeah, there's what 119 pages, and we're on page 91.
We're doing great.
Yeah, so we're fine. I want to let's hop right into the book because I think this is more important than anything that we can blab about. He talks about our idea of one world, of this one world government. And I'm not getting in a conspiracy way. I'm just saying the globalism. And he says, one world of which your politicians speak so glibly and your spiritual leaders speak so wistfully. The people of your nation, through your government, are spending billions of dollars each year in foreign relief. They are simply treating the symptoms, and such efforts at relief will never cure the illness.
Don't we always do this with our Band-Aids? This is controversial. I will share this. Who's the biggest producer of carbon emissions? Human beings.
Mm-hmm.
You can fix the food. You can put in more wind turbines. You can do all those things. But there's just a lot of human beings on the planet. The easiest solve is for us to stop having children for a chunk of time. No kids. 7 years, 10 years. Give a reset period in. And then slowly limit how many people we do have.
Yeah, that to get countries to make those. I know China has put that, where they had a limit on.
But that's
on children
it's a tough
and
thing to do. Cause
then you're going against people's free will.
Well, yeah,
to procreate.
If you define that for them,
right.
We would have to come together as a collective and say, this is important for us.
Biologically, we're also going against evolution.
It's tough.
There's millions of years of desire for us to procreate. Women have that desire innate in them, I mean, you're fixing to get married.
I'm fixing to get married.
So in 2 or 3 years after your marriage, there's going to be this desire. Unless you buy another dog.
Define my life.
There's
Tell
going
me the children.
There's going to be this desire for, to procreate. I mean, that's just, it's biologically put into our brains. It's time-stamped.
Well, even think about politics. They just talk about policy, but that's not the root of the cause.
Because you're allowed to have a child, but somebody in China's not.
Yeah. But
so now, you can, there's this philosophical debate we could get into.
Why is it that we have to send relief aid? Well, it's because of our imperialistic desires in raping and pillaging those countries. That's the real root of the problem. It has nothing to do with actually having sent them foreign aid and continually having to do it. That's because we continue to exacerbate the core issue.
Well, the cure to the illness, that's what he talks about.
Yes.
He says this, if 10% of the vast sum of money and effort were spent in helping people understand one another,
yes.
This is the spiritual and social sciences, they would then be attacking the illness itself, and in a few years, the illness would be cured. So if we took 10% of all the money, he said, and put it into helping people, helping people understand each other through their data, we could, like Tartle, we have it up there, sign up, tartle.co.
Thank you.
Help climate stability, human rights.
Help yourself, help your family.
Educational access,
Help the future.
But I love this because he's saying, now let's get back to the spiritual and the social sciences, and let's look at our ability to be able to cross borders and begin to understand people of different cultures. Because I was talking to a black gentleman yesterday, and we were having this conversation. And I told him, I said, it's understanding. It comes to understanding. And he said, well, what do you mean? Because he was talking about Black Lives Matters and everything else. And I said, if you took the most racist white person in, let's say, Louisiana, North Carolina, the South tends to have a whole thing, and you would put them in a black home and have them live for a week in a black home, and they went to church with them and saw grandma, and there was, apple pies cooked and black Southern food all cooked. And they began to see their biases of them not being human or second rate, and they began to see them showing love, began to see them experiencing an interaction. They began to see an acceptance of them in that process.
Seeing themselves
I guarantee you in a week, you could change hundreds of years of racism.
Oh, yeah. But people sit on the outside, exclude themselves from these other cultures, and then try and define them. Without even truly knowing or interacting with them. There's no understanding. That's where that illness sits. And here's the thing. I had this discussion last night with Amanda. We need to understand, but some people just don't want to. They don't want to do it. They have no interest in understanding
Well, then they
others.
will not be involved or be able to participate in the evolution of this country because they're going to be an archaic,
Or the
like
human
the
race.
systems that are dying now.
Or the human race at all.
Yes. They can't celebrate in the joys of what is going to happen
Yeah.
as humans collectively get together and decentralize things.
Correct.
You're going to centralize yourself through a bias and die an old, angry racist.
Mm-hmm.
And for what?
Yeah, for what? You happy you died an old angry racist, hating people because you never understood them?
Yeah, you're going against science, just as the far left, woke people are going against science on all kinds of things to approve agenda because they want to have the ability to have inclusivity, which I get. I understand that.
That's not real inclusivity.
But it's not, because then you're creating a religion.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know how religion goes, intolerance.
You mean intolerance?
Yes, intolerance. So I want people to understand this. Whenever we can look at spending money towards attacking the illness, as Alan says, then we have the ability to be able to heal something. But just throwing Band-Aids on stuff to make us feel good, we're consuming, here in the United States, we're consuming at a mad rate, hockey stick level. Mm-hmm. But then we turn around and we're taking lithium from these mines in Africa, and then you can watch that on YouTube and see how they live. But then at the same time, it's crazy, Nigeria, this is interesting, you have to look this up, it's really cool. So Nigeria went from in 2 generations, went from hundreds of thousands of people to millions. Mm-hmm. They even have the mega churches now that they have an auditorium that seats almost 1 million people.
Why is there
a church?
Why is there a correlation?
1 million people sitting in an auditorium. Super spreader, but we won't get into that.
I know, but think about it. Why? I'm looking at Nigeria now on the map. Why is there such strong correlation with population blooms and religion?
And also, but I think it's the desire to, but also when you look at it, it's like, what is the demand of that in 2 generations? What is the demand? And they're growing and they're getting better jobs and life is getting better in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. It's slow, but it's getting better. What is the demand as their GDP increases? What is the demand of product? And then how they handle that product and their waste, what are they going to do with it?
That's precisely
There's no Band-Aid you can put on that.
No. More people, more waste.
Yes. So until you create systems, Elon's system is 0 waste, and they have a lot of people.
But we're not at that technological development.
No.
Our major solve right now would be understanding each other. And because we understand each other, we can understand our environment and the impact we have upon it.
Yeah, you just had a great conversation with David Weinberger, an AI. He says he's not a scientist, he's a writer, but
bullshit.
Yeah, he's amazing on this.
Yeah, he's.
Google's hit him up and everybody else.
Short.
Everyday Chaos. You have to go to the Turtle TCast to watch that. But there's something that you said to him that I thought was really, really great. You said, "How can we go from we have 40 to 70 years left? Mm-hmm. So my grandkids aren't going to see a future with climate stability. How can we extend it 500 years or 1,000 years or?" How can we put that data that we're collecting and put those models in these AI systems to help us understand that? And one of the ways I think we can do that, and we've talked about this before, but I think it's a great example, is the Rubin Observatory System in Chile. That new telescope that's coming up, it literally can take millions of pictures in seconds. Mm-hmm. How many eyeballs would have to look in a telescope
to do that same thing?
That's helping us understand the universe better. And we're using machine learning to help us understand it. And it's agnostic, and it really doesn't care about anything else.
It's just
watching and working and helping us.
But there's only one eyeball in a human being, and that's yourself.
Yes,
there we go. You can't turn it outside. You have to turn it inside. Because you can't understand the other self, unless you understand yourself. Is that clear?
Yeah. Well, he says this, Elon, look how philosophical it gets. Are you ready?
I love philosophy.
This is a powerful statement.
Yeah.
With freedom from want comes freedom from fear.
Yeah. What happens when you have everything you need? What happens when you have it all? This is rhetorical. There's no one coming in saying that you need to fear something. Why? Because you're not wanting, because you know how to find your truth. You know how to use your resources. You know how to articulate your time. There's no sense of waste anymore. You understand how to integrate with yourself and other selves. There's nothing for you to fear because you live in truth. You live in truth of what you understand, and also knowing that you don't understand certain aspects. And that doesn't create fear. You just know that the time that it will take will be a large body of evolutionary time, but you will get there. And it may not be in this life, but that requires a deep spiritual and social understanding of what is going on. Fear no longer plays a role. Fear is this false, material, illusory world that makes us delusioned and blindfolded as we walk around. When you live in truth and you see these things and you understand those other aspects of, science, which is the spirit and the social, the blindfold is gone in our understanding. We become one with the universe and others at that moment. Fear does not exist in a universe of truth. Fear exists outside of it, driven by our own free will, through a wanting for more from not understanding. So once we achieve that understanding, the wants go away. Once we have these defined systems and advances in our technology, spirit, and social aptitude, fear eradicates itself. We have no wants. All of the needs are accounted for. Now it's an evolution of our integration with the thing that actually gives us life.
Yeah, and I love that the want, he said want. So it's like an action verb. Mm-hmm. It's the carrot and the donkey that never gets it.
Yeah.
That's what want does to you. It puts you in a psychosomatic state of desire. And so then you're lusting after things constantly to fulfill your joy and happiness. And so in turn, you're externally getting value in and of yourself from the things that you want. And then you get something. And then in that process of getting it, you lay ownership of an item. And then you're letting that item be a little G to you.
Yeah.
A little God. And you're worshiping that item. Then it wanes. Like you get a new car, you're so excited about it, and then you're like, Then you just hop in your car. Then you got to go to the next thing. You got to go to the next thing, and then you're working more income because you want a Tesla. You're tired of you started with the Mazda, you went to a Mercedes, now you want a Tesla. And then so you're working more, spending more, giving up your freedoms, all for this want, in hopes to. People have children in this format.
Yeah, of course.
To make themselves happy.
They live their lives like this. They think that everything they need resides on the outside of them. Yeah. They think that material science will save them.
Yes, here we go.
It will help them evolve.
100%. Yeah.
That's why they are in a constant state of wanting, because they put all their time and energy into things that rust and are impermanent. Permanence sits within the understanding of the self and that self's relationship to creation.
Yeah, and
that is internally within you. You have everything you need. That system has no waste. That system affords you everything you could ever need to evolve.
Well, think of this, and we'll close with this. I want to go a few minutes into this in the end of chapter 5. He says, "Your greatest era, era. Sorry, your golden age lies just before you. You have only to go through the proper door. When you increase your understanding, you will speed up the time when that golden age will be reached." Then he says this, and this is really, really good. This shows you that his information that he's giving to Dr. Fry is right. And we've talked about this before. "I have given you as much information and instruction as you are capable of absorbing at this time." Mm-hmm. As I said before, he's re-saying this. "We have no desire to force our knowledge and our culture upon your race, and we will not do so."
Yeah. They understand the error of doing so. And they understand that anything beyond that, he won't be able to perceive or understand, so it's a lie, because there's no foundational base. It will just create chaos for those individuals. It will become worshipped. People look at it as a religion, their culture, but that's not what it is.
And he said, "Nor can we appear in person before your people until there is substantial evidence or data that the majority of your people understand our motives and desires to meet us."
Right. And that is called, what Ra states in a spiritual mathematical sense, the law of doubling or the law of squares.
Yes.
That there is a spiritual calling, a want or desire from us as a human collective to call out to have these people come down. But that has to reach a mathematical threshold to where it doesn't look like we are stepping on the free will of these individuals by showing up. They have to ask for it under their own accord.
Yeah, and he says, I will leave you with a final quotation from your own philosophy. He's always quoting our philosophy back to us,
Isn't that
which
the
is
only way
awesome.
to do it?
He says, examine all things and cling to that which is good. I think that's great. And then he says this, and I want you to speak on that statement, but he says, goodbye, Dan. Do your best. Help people understand the truth about themselves, their existence, and their future. When you have made enough progress, we will contact you again. And this is the mission of Tartle that you and I work for, is we want to help people understand the truth about themselves, their existence, and their future.
You're precisely correct. And closing it to talk about this comment, I will talk about the Sioux Indians and the Cherokee. They share around a certain thematic approach to decision-making in life. And that is this: if it's not good for me, it's not good for everyone. I don't think I even need to explain that.
Yeah, say that again so everyone understands.
If it's not good for me, it's not good for everyone.